Greetings, Benjamin J. from Ben's Trains with another in the series. Well, a follow-up on that 898 from eBay for $4.99. And I've got it lubed and tuned. It has a substantial amount of gear noise. This is an old, abused locomotive. The thing has been sitting in a box very probably as long as I've been alive. And plus it had lots and lots of runtime before it was abandoned. Anyway, $4.99 on eBay, and it is up and running. I replaced the headlight, lubed it, tuned it as best I can. It actually is going to need an intermediate gear eventually. It's still running fine, it's just noisy. And I've lubed it, and as it runs, it will very likely become less noisy. But it's definitely gear noise. Anyway, I just wanted to do a quick video on this. 898 from eBay, $4.99, pulling 23 tin litho cars, and all I've done to it is cleaned it, lubed it, tuned it, and replaced the headlight. That's about 40% power. So was it worth $4.99? The coupler is worth that much. So even if it didn't run, you have an entire engine or entire motor to scavenge for parts. But in this case, it took 2 minutes to get this running. And like I said, it's been run a lot. It has a lot of runtime. Plus it's been sitting for decades. So it's up and running, and like I said, it could use an intermediate gear. I'll probably just go ahead and leave this as it is, and when I get some gears, I'll probably just swap it out. But so far, I've found absolutely nothing wrong with it, other than the fact that it is old, and it's been sitting for decades. And it wasn't in terrible condition. You can see it's had lots and lots of play wear, but there's no real damage to it. Someone actually scavenged the two markers and the number board, as you see. So what I'm going to do with it, I have no idea. I bought it for the motor, hoping it would run, and if it didn't, I had all these parts, of course, for $4.99. You simply can't beat it. Anyway, to my surprise, it's up and running, and actually running really well. It's noisy, like I said. I put a bit of lithium grease on the intermediate gear, which helped. Of course, as it runs, it may quiet down. This thing's been sitting for years and years and years. But it is running forward and reverse. It's actually running quite well. It's noisy, yes, but it's running well. It has lots of power, considering it's pulling 23 tin litho cars at 40% power. You really can't beat that. So I'll run this the rest of the day and just see how it goes. So I might lay in a supply of intermediate gears. A lot of these motors that I buy need that gear. Of course, that's the one that gets worn the most. That is the actual driving the drive wheel. But in any case, $4.99. Couldn't beat it. It's running. I've done nothing to it but lube it, clean it, and replace the headlight. So like I said, if it didn't run, I haven't lost anything. The coupler itself is worth $5. Plus you have all of the other motor parts. So anyway, I just wanted to do a follow-up video. Like I said, I'll be running this the rest of the day. And it's noisy, and it's far from perfect. But it's running, and it was real cheap. You just can't ask for more than that. A running Marx locomotive circa 1948, 1952, something like that, in less than perfect condition, but it's running, single reduction motor. I've had to do nothing to it, and like I said, the coupler itself is worth $5. So when you find these things, when you see these things on eBay, I don't judge these by how they look. And you can find some real bargains if you know how to fix these locomotives. In this case, a child could have done this. There was nothing wrong with it other than the fact that it had been sitting for years and years and years, plus it had lots and lots and lots of runtime. But it's not in terrible condition, as you see. The paint isn't perfect, but I've had worse. And I can either fill these holes with epoxy putty and finish over it and repaint it. Don't know what I'm going to do with it yet. Like I said, I bought it just because it was inexpensive, $4.99. And even in the description, it said that the locomotive had been sitting in a box for decades. So I'm guessing 30 years, something like that, perhaps more. A lot of oxide on all the parts. And of course, it had lots and lots of runtime before it, like I said, before it was abandoned. So I can straighten out the handrails, touch up the paint, and I have a running locomotive for $5. Really difficult to beat that. And if worse comes to worse, if that gear fails, I'll just use it for parts. Or of course, I can just replace the gear. Actually, the gear costs more than the locomotive did. So anyway, I just wanted to do a quick follow-up. Marx 898 eBay, $4.99 in perfect running condition. Pulling 23 tin litho cars. And so far I've found nothing wrong with it at all, other than the fact that it has noisy gears. But like I said, the more it runs, the better it will run. And it will very likely quiet down. This thing is just absolutely covered in oxide. But as you can see, it was worth $4.99. There's no doubt about that. So a quick follow-up. As I run this, like I said, I'm sure it will probably quiet down. And we'll just take it from there and see what develops. So I'll be running this the rest of the day. But so far, so good. Always a lot of fun to buy these locomotives on eBay. You know, and you're basically buying them sight unseen. You're buying it from a photograph and a description. Sometimes the photographs and descriptions are quite accurate. Sometimes they're not. But in this case, I had absolutely nothing to lose. $5, it's definitely worth that just in parts. So it's running actually quite well, forward and reverse, E-unit's working. I have found absolutely nothing wrong with this. So we'll see how it goes. Anyway, I just wanted to do a quick follow-up video. As I always stress, don't overlook the junk. Marx 898, $4.99. I was the only bidder, and this locomotive is running absolutely perfectly, as you see. Forward and reverse, no problem with it at all. And as I said, as it runs, it will probably become less noisy as that oxide wears off the parts. So just want to do a follow-up video. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to drop me an email, BENZTRAINZ@gmail.com. And as always, thank you for watching.